Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Hollywood Connection. Today, we are going to be doing a review on one of Marvel's best series, Loki.
You really believe in this Loki variant?
Luckily, he believes in himself enough for the both of us.
Why? It is adorable that you think you could possibly manipulate me. I'm 10 steps ahead of you.
You're not big on trust, are you?
You can trust me.
Loki, I've studied almost every moment of your entire life. You've literally stabbed people in the back like 50 times.
I'd never do it again.
Now, today there is a lot to talk about, so we're going to be breaking it up into three parts. So, guys, are you ready to start talking about Loki? Because that was an insane season and an even more insane series finale.
Yep. Indeed. Ready.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, what did you guys think of the season as a whole? The entire season so far.
Well, I really liked it. I think this is my favorite out of the Marvel TV shows so far. I feel like this one didn't lose its steam along the way. I felt like each episode was crucial. Like I didn't feel like I was zoning out. I already mentioned in the video, I think the first video we did about the MCU, where I mentioned that it's sort of like Doctor Who, reminds me a bit of Doctor Who with the time traveling and they're going to different planets. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. That was really cool. We got to see some new sites. Obviously I like Tom Hiddleston. He's as Loki. He's one of my favorite characters, probably the favorite character in the MCU. And I like Christina DiMartino, right? That's Sylvie. Yeah, she was really good. Yeah, she was really good. I like the chemistry. I like the love story. And, the MCU doesn't really handle romances very well. I don't usually care about it. But this one I really liked. And it kind of makes sense that Loki would fall for like another version of himself, right? It had to be like a version of Loki, right? So like that. Owen Wilson was good. I really liked the banter between his character and Loki. It was so fun to watch. I really hope he gets his jet ski at someday. We didn't get to see it. I want to see that jet ski scene. And also getting towards the second half of it, we got to see a lot of references, especially in the last two episodes, like everything from like tiny Easter eggs in the back of the shot to like characters popping up, especially like Richard E. Grant's character as a classic Loki. That was really cool to see. He was really good. I didn't expect, that, it kind of came out of nowhere. And kind of like a tribute and a send off to that character. That was really cool. So I really enjoyed it. The humor was on point. It didn't have a lot of action, but the few scenes were really cool. I had a lot of fun with it. What about you, Vasan?
Yeah, fan service right throughout. Like you said, last two episodes were brilliant in that regard. I agree. Tom Hiddleston, I mean, we're all straight men here, but man, that guy has a charisma. Seriously. It's him and Henry Cavill. I don't know. There's something about those two guys. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't say anything more. But brilliant story. Kate Herron pulled off a brilliant job. From what I heard, and now I have to mention beforehand for all of you watching, if you haven't seen any of the episodes, there's a lot of spoilers that we're going to be talking about starting from now. So, spoiler warning. Anyways, yeah. So, Kate Herron did a brilliant job. And from what I recently learned, the introduction of the one who remains, or the one who pains, or, Immortus, and then finally Kang, different names that you can use Colin, was not actually part of the final reveal at the end. Apparently, that was something that came up much towards the latter part of production, and it was also because with Corona, there were a lot of things that went back and forth, a lot of things that got shuffled, and the fact that she pulled it off and got this character in is brilliant. I mean, the way they were able to insert him, because there was apparently a different scene. There was a completely different. It was supposed to be a very extended back and forth between Sylvie and Loki, and that was how this was going to end, with something else happening. They weren't very clear about it, but yes, Jonathan Majors' introduction, like I think I mentioned in a couple of discussions before, we were expecting him to come in Ant-Man Quantumania. Him being brought here, brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and we'll go more into that later. But overall, as the show is concerned, very good pacing, a lot of humor, good balance, and like you said, romance has been a weakness in the MCU, but it was beautiful. I mean, seeing those two characters, Loki and Sylvie, get into it, go through the whole journey, and then finally fall in love. It was brilliant. And also, there was a thing that Kate Herron had mentioned. All of the sets, well, about 85% of the sets were actually physical. That's brilliant. I mean, that's amazing. 85% of the sets.
It looked really good. Yeah, it looked really good.
Like the TVA itself, I mean, that whole classic, 60s office vibe and all of that is awesome. And the music, I think I talked about this before also. The music was awesome. It was really well done. Just like in Black Widow, they really made good use of the music in Loki as well. And yeah, I mean, what has now happened is amazing. And like the two characters, Mobius and B13, B15, I got it.
The Hunter, right? Hunter.
The Hunter. Yeah. Said, well, there's no going back now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my summary, if I were to call it.
I loved all the references to previous movies from the start itself. I love how it had that magic of WandaVision, and the action and the drama of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that mystery of Doctor Strange. It was incredible. I mean, it had me hooked from the pilot episode itself. Because I mean, in the pilot episode, we see all those flashbacks into Loki's life, and we get to see all the previous movies, and that was so beautiful and that was so intense. And you see Loki, a character who has been so smug throughout the years, a villain. You really start feeling for him. So this is what they did throughout the show. I mean, the amount of character development that you see from Loki, it's incredible. Like you see him coming from what he was in Avengers 2012 to what he was in the season finale. It's incredible. You start feeling for him, you start crying for him, you start feeling with him on this journey. It's incredible. But yeah, I mean, seeing him dealing with this new adventure, these time, space, multiversal aspects, it's hilarious, and it's just it's so much fun, and yeah, I loved it so much.
So overall, the show, I had a few gripes, minor ones. I think they kind of slowed down for a bit in episode 3, but overall, with the pacing was kept to a very good amount. Like I mentioned before, the music was brilliant. Natalie Ann Holt, I love the way how she used some traditional instruments like the theremin and she used a Moog synthesizer for quite a few of those themes. Like I mentioned, the whole design aspect in the beginning of the show was very 70s, 60s, 70s, and she brought the music also to match with that. And I love how so they really did time travel, right? they show like different times, different technologies. Or so you would have a typewriter at the beginning of the series. Suddenly you're in the future with all this weird technology and an old woman with a really powerful gun hiding inside a trailer. And then you have the end of everything where it's just marble and you just swords and stuff. And
The house at the end was really
yes,
cool.
they call it the Chronopolis. It's called the Chronopolis. It's like the end of
Time and yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all of these things, the set designs, like I mentioned before, the everything about 80% of the set designs were actually physical, which is brilliant in a time like this during COVID. For them to have pulled that off is amazing. So
yeah, that building where they shot the TVA stuff, that's real. I mean, I saw like a photo of it where the elevator goes. Like that was real. Like most of it was real, and then they kind of extended it with CGI, but mostly real. Yeah, that was really cool to see.
It's brilliant. It's nice to see a TV show that yes, they have a budget, they have a massive budget, but at least they're making use of it. You hear of all these big budgeted shows that really don't look like they spent more than a couple of $100,000. But then here's a show that actually looks like it's made use of millions of dollars, and that's brilliant.
So I guess the next part would be, what did you guys think of that insane finale?
No.
Well, that was really cool. I mean, when Vasant, you mentioned that they actually had something else in mind and then they changed it. I had no idea about that because it just seemed to flow. It didn't feel disjointed or anything. Like I didn't notice anything was off. I assume that's what they were going for anyway. So yeah, that was really cool. And then the reveal of that character, I remember him from this character from the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon. I think he was there in that one, right? That was the Conqueror version of him, I guess. And that was really cool. So to introduce him, and now he's sort of responsible for the multiverse, basically, right? Like they kind of, this is the starting point. They show the multiverse basically coming into being, right? Like you see the other timelines popping up, and so many possibilities. Really enjoyed that. Yeah, I think Vasant will probably have more to say about this guy.
So
Yes, definitely.
Vasant? So basically, going back to how the ending it was done differently. Apparently, Kate Herron had this pitch that she put to Kevin Feige, and she didn't even think that Kevin Feige would agree. Now, like I said, Corona had put things all over the place, hence why different movies are launching at different points in time, etc., etc. But she had said, okay, why don't we end this with? They were going to do the multiverse anyways, but why don't we make it something to do with the character we are already going to introduce, and who's heavily involved in Phase 4, and who's heavily involved with multiverse. And Feige apparently agreed, and Jonathan Majors was on board, and so we got what we got as the ending, which is brilliant because if you look at the character of Kang is a time traveler. He's apparently the descendant of Reed Richards, because Reed Richards' father, Nathaniel Richards, is actually a time traveler and had apparently fathered him in the future. That's why Kang's actual name is Nathaniel Richards. And so Nathaniel Richards, so he never mentions his name in that sequence he saw at the end. But Nathaniel Richards is the guy who came across the multiverse, and he's like, oh wow, okay, we have all these different universes. And just like the story alluded, he had a different demeanor to himself. He was more curious about what this multiverse was and what could other people like him be like, and how this would work. And so in the comics, there's a thing called the Council of Richards, which is basically all the Reed Richards from different universes gathering together. So they changed that in Loki and made it the Council of,
They kind of took that story and built it around Kang, I guess.
Yes. And so it became the Council of Kangs, kind of. And then, there was cooperation and all of that. But just like historian roots, there was conflict, there were, personal gains and personal agendas, and hence the multiverse war was born. So what this has done now is given them what they needed. I'm pretty sure this was all in the plan, minus Kang. They had already planned for the multiverse to be a result of whatever current timeline just cracking open. But nobody would have seen it happening here, I think, this way. Now, we heard that What If was going to come in, and we all thought is based on comics. What If was just going to be alternate universes. But now we know What If is a direct result of what has happened in Loki. They just confirmed that last week. They also confirmed that this. Now, Kevin Feige has been consistently saying for the last since they mentioned talked about the shows. Was it early this year or I think last year? No, early this year when he mentioned all the different shows and various other things during Disney Expo. He said that Loki would have a lasting impact on the MCU. He repeated that about 4 times, and now we finally got to see what that is. And so now we can you can kind of corroborate the rumors in the Spider-Man 3 movie, in Spider-Man No Way Home, that you've heard about all these classic villains from the Sam Raimi movies, and as well as Amazing Spider-Man coming back. So now it kind of makes sense, and it also kind of explains maybe the title No Way Home might be because this guy, what do you call it, Peter Parker has no way back home. He's stuck in a different dimension. We saw how Loki comes back to the TVA, but it's not the TVA that he remembers. Not the TVA that remembers him, either. It's a completely different TVA, right? A completely different. So the impact of what Sylvie did, the impact of her, killing Kang or killing Immortus or killing the one who remains, it was this. It has completely fractured everything. Now, how this will affect some of the upcoming movies, I'm not too sure. I don't know if it will affect what do you call it, Eternals. It could be the reason why the Eternals. That's it. We did not interfere in human affairs, but now we have to get in. It might be this. I don't think so. Spider-Man No Way Home, definitely. So this is going to be a direct result, as well as Multiverse of Madness. What if they've confirmed? But I'm not sure if this is going to affect Hawkeye, if this is going to affect Moon Knight. I don't think this is going to affect some of the other movies also that are coming down the road initially. But I think they have laid the ground now, basically, for the introduction of the Fantastic Four as well, which is why Fantastic Four was fast forwarded in that last reveal that the MCU had.
I think they might be introduced in Ant-Man 3, no?
I think so.
There is a possibility.
Quantumania, yes.
Yeah.
So and the villain is Kang in Quantumania. See, because if you think about it, there are all these other projects that we've been hearing of, but for some reason, Fantastic Four is pulled forward, right? And so that is something to think about. Now, the two things that connect, how this connects into Multiverse of Madness, I've been reading up and listening to various blogs, and they say there are two things that will happen or could happen potentially. By doing this, now Doctor Strange, who is the guardian of this timeline per se, as he mentioned, I think in Thor Ragnarok, will now suddenly come with a situation where two things have flipped on his radar. One is a Nexus being in the form of Scarlet Witch, suddenly now being activated. And two, suddenly this timeline is no longer pure. Because remember, it was the Ancient One who talked about the timeline splitting back in Endgame. So clearly, as the next person who's the guardian or who would be sensitive to this, he would realize, okay, something's gone really badly wrong here. And I think what might happen is they'll start with No Way Home and then show how, what do you call it, Scarlet Witch as a Nexus being is used or manipulated to, create a situation where everything gets threatened. That's why it's called the multiverse of madness,
Mhm.
as opposed to just the multiverse or whatever. The other thing is they've also confirmed Loki will be in Multiverse of Madness. This was not confirmed before, but now they just recently
Oh,
confirmed.
right.
Yeah.
That will
So
be
he
interesting. That will be interesting. I didn't expect that. I was
exactly.
thinking Loki will sort of be on his own for now, but
That's it.
that's
Even
interesting.
when we saw the end of that of the season, they said Loki will return in season 2.
Season
But
2.
now apparently they have mentioned that he will have. We don't know how big of a role. It will be very very small, but it might be, and it might be during shooting Loki 2. But anyways, and the biggest hope I have is that with all of these things, it's an explosion right now, right? I mean, look, if you saw how the timeline is getting fractured, there's going to be a lot of things happening, and it's going to take a lot of work from all these different characters to kind of bring it into control. But from what I am guessing is it'll be all chaos initially, but then gradually they'll manage to iron out things, and then you'll have the multiverse, but not this chaotic. What I want to see is also how they're going to deal with Sylvie, because she's stuck now. I think she has a tin pad in her hand. I'm not sure, but she is now in what they call the Chronopolis. That is the place that big massive mansion at the end of the time, and she's there, and she's realized,
I'm guessing season 2 will probably focus on her.
her
Like they'll have,
and
Loki, and Loki will be like looking for her. Yeah.
But it also the other thing that this leaves is how many variants of Kang are we going to see before we actually see the real Kang? Because the real Kang is probably one of the worst versions of. That's why I said the one who remains kept saying, if you kill me, you're going to see something much worse than I am. Many versions of me that are going to be far worse than I am. And Kang is a complete freak, and in the sense he started off with good intentions, but then lost as most villains, he lost his way and became more power hungry. I want to see how they bring that, because they've already shown the statue of Kang that was there at the end was in the proper
TVA.
in the proper Kang garb, whereas the one he was wearing in the episode was more like Immortus. Immortus is a much older version of Kang, who basically is an amalgamation of different Kangs from different universes. So he's a much more seasoned and brainy and thoughtful character. Also, one line that I loved when they were arguing between the three of them was this one line where they're like, "Oh, you say that you're going to do this, you're going to give us that and all that, but you're just lying." And you're just saying, and then he snaps. When he finally snaps, I mean, this guy is really calm, he's really composed, and he's like, "You're all villains. We're all villains here. You've all done things you're not proud of." And he looks at each one of them individually, right? He looks at Loki and the things he's done to hurt people and the maybe killed so many people in the process. Yeah, he did kill a bunch of people in Avengers. And then of course you have Sylvie, who just kept killing all these various TVA agents. We don't know who else she did. So we're all villains here. None of you can put your nose up high and look at me in a holier than thou attitude. I did what I had to do. He did what he did. Also, what's interesting is I'm curious as to how he weaponized. He said that he weaponized. What was that creature?
The creature, right? The creature, yeah.
Goliath, I think.
Alliance. Right. So he said that he used Alliance to control or to consume all these multiverses. So I have a theory, and I think when Alliance consumes, I don't think he's destroying. He's doing another trick, as they did with the.
So you're saying it goes somewhere else?
Exactly. I think
quantum.
Yeah, which
quantum realm.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah. Which is why now the timeline is splintering. I mean, if the timeline splinters and he says that there'll be worse versions, that means he's locked them in. why would there be worse versions if they're just suddenly splintering? It wouldn't make sense. We are just you're birthing a new bunch of universes, right? Why would they naturally be evil? Like, he alludes to the fact that there were
Yeah.
multiverses before.
Yeah.
He alludes that
So
there was
I mean,
some
he is from the future. So what
yes.
I'm guessing what he's done is he's gone back and kind of gotten rid of the other timelines, right?
I don't think so. I think
Oh, okay.
because he said he used the liar to consume
Yeah.
and control, and then
Yeah.
finally the timeline into this thing. So I'm guessing when Alayat consumes, Alayat basically, there's a concept. I don't know if it's we've seen it yet, but there's a thing called the microverse, right? It's something in the DC comics
Okay.
and an image and all of that. It's basically a universe within a universe, very small
Okay.
one. So maybe he's depositing all of them there, and then think about the Soul Stone, right? Of the Infinity Gauntlet. It sends everybody into a different dimension altogether.
Yeah, I mean, with and this, if this is he's going to be the villain in Quantum Mania, that means that's probably it, right? I think you got it right. Yeah,
exactly, because they use the quantum. The Avengers use the quantum realm to do their time jumps as well. So
and also and the fact that he's gonna be the villain in Quantum Mania means like he will have some ability to control the quantum realm or
yes.
the powers and the energies that you find there, right? So that kind of makes sense. Like maybe he will be discovered there, like
yes,
or something like that. If he was consumed or something.
That's the thing. So I think he's consumed all the different universes and all of that into a location, and by doing this, that's where the fracture. And now they're all coming back with revenge, because one of the other lines that was very important, I don't know if you guys caught it, was when the Mobius and the agent and the agent are talking. They say he's allowed this to happen. He's saying allowed this to happen.
Because in that timeline, Kang seems to be in charge of the TVA, right?
In charge, right? And
there are no three.
Yeah, this basically say he wants this to happen, which means they would have done the same kind of thing in their minds, in their variants, but here he's allowing the timeline to branch out. So I think there's that. And the significance we will see, I think, not too far away. What if will properly, I think, explore, now that we know What If is not just a one-time thing that by the way, they've confirmed What If will have a season 2 as well. It's the only other show other than Loki to have 2 seasons. So What If definitely is going to look at sudden changes in the multiverse, and then they've said that or rather through leaks, that all of these guys will come together as a different type of Avengers of sorts. All these different variants in different universes. One particular character, one variant from each universe. Then they're going to come together. They'll be brought together by the Watcher for whatever they're going to do in season 2. But yeah, a heavy impact. And I think MCU is now the MCM, the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. Can't call it the universe anymore. So yes, great, massive, significant impact. Oh, of course, quickly I'm going to say, I got so caught up with the implications. The episode in itself, absolutely brilliant. Loved it. We finally saw the kiss between the two variants, but it was also what led to a very painful betrayal. And I have never seen Loki this vulnerable. Now, Shamitri said how Loki, has gone through this whole set of circumstances. Think about this. Consider this. The Loki in the actual MCU had also gone through hell. Had also gone through everything, and then made the ultimate sacrifice for his brother. This Loki had to do all of that within a span of hours or days. And I think he had a more powerful experience. And that's why that betrayal, it took him that long for him to finally get into action and, okay, I got to put my feelings to side and, go ahead. Because this is the same Loki wanted to take over Earth and rule it, right? He very Maleficent kind of character. For him to have that about turn and change in that amount of time is brilliant. Brilliant writing, brilliant setup. And that fight sequence at the end, absolutely loved it, man.
That was really cool. Yeah.
Really well done. So yes, last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like how when he's explaining, the one who remains, when he's explaining, he's eating an apple, and that reminded me of, even in Doctor Strange, there's an apple. So whenever there's like something related to time, there's always an apple being in the scene. I have a feeling that that's a deliberate thing that they're sort of carrying over from the Doctor Strange film. That was like a little cool thing I noticed.
There were many, from what I read, there were many acknowledgements to pop culture, sci-fi, mystery, fantasy, right throughout these episodes, especially the last episode in this one. So I'm pretty sure Doctor Who would have been a big, strong this thing. In the previous episode, that ship that suddenly appeared is an actual ship that disappeared or was lost. It was supposed to be the first ship that the US Navy was trying to work on a cloaking technology for. They were trying to work on a cloaking technology. And this is no urban myth, or we can actually pick it up. The ship, they were experimenting on it, and then it disappeared. No trace, no nothing.
Right.
Just lost to sea or something. And so I love how they used that and brought that into this.
And the alligator. That was cute.
Brilliant.
Okay, so what do you guys think the fallout of Loki will be on the MCU or MCM?
Yeah, there's just implications. There's all of that. You're going to see. It will make a lot more sense now for the Fantastic Four and the X-Men to suddenly appear, because you would have to come up with a really crazy idea as to why mutants were never in this universe, and how do mutants suddenly come in? Which is why I think that they've kept the X-Men for like maybe phase 5 or phase 6. They're laying the seeds now. But Fantastic Four, now we have a plausible reason as to why they would exist. There's that. The other impact, like I said, some shows, some TV shows, some movies may not see it, depending on where they're placed in the timeline. But of course, shows and movies in the future, definitely. Quantumania, definitely now we know where Kang is coming from. We know, like I said, Fantastic Four, Multiverse of Madness, Homecoming, which is what worries me also. I want to see how they're going to line these movies up in a timeline. Because earlier we had a very straightforward thing. Okay, Thor Ragnarok happened here. This thing happened here. Civil War happened here. Black Widow comes between the two, etc., etc., etc. But since they've said that, they've made some very confusing statements. I don't know if they're trying to, confuse people or whatever. But if they're saying that these things won't be impacted, I'm wondering where in the timeline those particular movies and TV series will be, where they'll fall. Also, this gives. See, this is. I was actually one of the people who was very upset that they cancelled all those Netflix series like Punisher, Daredevil. I wanted to see all these things, continue. And they had a 2-year contract period where they had a cool down period after Netflix lost the rights before MCU could use it. That period passed, and I was hoping that they would make some announcements. There is a rumor that Charlie Cox may appear as Matt Murdock in No Way Home as this one's lawyer, but that's one of the more unconfirmed rumors right now. And Punisher, I don't think any other actor has portrayed Punisher as well as we saw in the series. So I really would like him to come back. I'm not particularly. Luke Cage is good, but I'm not particularly keen with the other two characters. But I want to see how this show. Sorry. So what I was saying is this show has shown that in spite of all of that, they know how to, carry things forward. And if at all, the show may proves the point that you have to watch everything to if you want to to have a coherent idea or understanding of what's going on. It's not a bad thing. Uh, but what I would really like to see is for them to not just let this become a convenient plot point and then disappear. I would really like to see some impact. I would really like to see the impact of what has happened here appear right across the universe. I would like this not to be one or two movies. I would like to see this really hit home hard for all these characters. I mean, imagine you wake up on tomorrow or on the next day, and then suddenly everything your character knows is different. This is the perfect comic book, one of the perfect comic book stories, where you wake up in a completely different universe. You wake up in a completely different thing. Imagine being able to play with all of that. So there's that. And I really hope, for those, if you have read comics, I really hope that this leads to what they talked about at the beginning of the series. I really hope it leads to Secret Wars. We know Secret Invasion is happening, but Secret Wars is, if you haven't read the comics yet, I really think you should take time to. It's a brilliant set of comics. It is a very short mini series, but it's brilliant. What happens if we combine all the multiverses into one universe on one planet? Your Earth is the entire multiverse in one setting. And then you have all these characters across it, consistently fighting, and you have all these different lists. I want to see that. And finally, my last thing on how the impact may happen is this may also, they're saying this may also impact what we call Black Panther 2. Why Atlantis suddenly appears. Right? Now, Atlantis, they kind of allude to it in Endgame when Okoyo's, what's it, Okoyo? Who's the Bildorai who appears consistently in all the movies? The Black Panthers.
So I think.
No. Bildorai is the guard, the female guard that Black Panther has. When she's reporting to Black Widow in Endgame, she says that there are rumblings in the Atlantic, but we are not going to.
Ew.
Yes, I think so. So she says there are tremors occurring in the Atlantic, and then Black Widow says, "Why did you investigate?" No. We don't investigate tremors like that. We let them be, right? Which means they already know about Atlantis. So that might be something that we already know who they've already announced the actor for Nemo. Very interesting choice. So we know Nemo is happening. We don't know where, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Wakanda, because Wakanda and Atlantis have been constant enemies. And so we're going to see a serious shift in everything. Enjoy the movies you have or that are coming up, because the MCU you're going to see going forward is going to be very different.
Yeah, I'm wondering now whether Kang is gonna be sort of like the main villain for the Phase 4. Like, it could be, right? Because if what happens here is affecting Multiverse of Madness, it's affecting No Way Home, it's affecting Quantumania, maybe leading up to Fantastic Four, all the way up there, he could be like the main guy who's going to be involved in all of this. That might be interesting to see.
Kate Herron was very cryptic. Kate Herron was very cryptic when they said, "Will Kang be the next big Thanos level baddie?" And she's like, "Maybe. You have to watch and see."
So, guys, those were our thoughts on Loki. That was our review. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And if you haven't watched it, definitely do. It is one of Marvel's best series. Don't you think so, guys?
Oh yeah.
No, I can't wait for season 2 now. To see this story continue. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Trust me, all you Marvel fans. This one is one you cannot miss, especially if you know what's coming. So, guys, this has been the Hollywood Connection. I'm Shamindri. I'm here with Vasant and Nuan, and thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.
Bye.